threat hunting, ideally you're finding threats. Like that is the biggest goal, but there are so many other values that you can get out of it. And I think a lot of people forget that or like overlook those things.
Threat hunting. It's one of those things that everyone agrees is important, but ask 5 people to define it and you'll get 6 answers. For many practitioners, threat hunting can feel abstract, overwhelming, or even a little bit mysterious. In this episode of the Talos Threat Perspective, we're joined by Ryan Fetterman and Sydney Marone, co authors of the new Threat Hunters Cookbook. This is a free ebook that you can download today, and it's a collection of methods, models, and techniques that security teams can pick up and apply in your own environments. We'll talk about what the cookbook contains and how it can help anyone from early in career to seasoned practitioners level up their hunting skills. Now, first of all, you probably thought that I meant to say the Threat Hunter's Handbook. No, this is a cookbook because apparently the Venn diagram of sauteing and simtools is just a circle.
I mean, I do like the bear. That definitely was like an influence on my thinking, but I think the analogy is pretty natural. If you think about data like being the ingredients that we're working with, in data science, we even have steps like cleaning, pre-processing, like there's a lot of preparation that goes into making the problem ready to be worked on.
Now, I've never cooked anything with mise en place. My approach to cooking is similar to a bad incident response: panic, throw everything into one pot, hope the logs make sense later. Now, it's easy to think that a threat is only successful if you find an attacker or a previously hidden compromise, but Ryan told me that the value of threat hunting goes way beyond that.
Over time, we realized that's a bad measuring stick to use because there's no certainty that you're going to find those things, but that doesn't mean that your efforts were unsuccessful. So we've tried to reframe that in Peak in that the results of your hunt are really about producing knowledge in the forms of finding, for example, maybe data sources that aren't parsed correctly, hardware or software that you didn't know was on the network.
As Ryan mentioned, like threat hunting, ideally you're finding threats. Like that is the biggest goal, but there are so many other values that you can get out of it. And I think a lot of people forget that or like overlook those things. So you need to show your value as a team, no matter if you're threat hunting, you're a SOC, you're a detection engineer. And the way that a threat hunter can is by showing all these findings, not just the threats, but the data gaps, the vulnerabilities, the misconfigurations, etc.
Now, for people new to threat hunting, it can feel a little bit intimidating at the start. So I asked Sydney, where's the best place to begin?
The questions I would ask are, what is the scope of the hunt? What is the tactic, technique, or procedure that we are hunting? Like being as specific as possible is huge if we're trying to scope out our hunt. So we're not running a threat hunt for 6 months. Other questions might be, do we have any detections or protections in our environment already for whatever we're hunting? Like that is very important. If we have a bunch of detections already, maybe we shouldn't be threat hunting it. Maybe we can pivot to something else.
So it's less about boiling the ocean and more about poking one suspicious puddle. And if that puddle answers back, congratulations, you found your hunt. Now, of course, everyone has their favorite recipe in a cookbook. So here are Ryan and Sydney's.
My favorite are typically like the machine learning assisted hunts. I think those are the most fun. Typically, like the more complicated problems, I think, is where you actually have more room to be creative and try different methods and kind of get unexpected results potentially. More recently, we've been doing more with like AI and LLM. So there's a whole concept of like model in the loop threat hunting where we're injecting large language models into the threat hunting process, which I also think is exciting to be able to go faster.
Machine learning is newer to me, so I definitely love exploring and learning any of those techniques. Clustering is probably my favorite, but I have to say, doing some of the advanced statistical methods, applying those to threat hunting, like z-score, standard deviation, interquartile range, are really fun to use. I've used it recently on a password spraying hunt, and it just proved I was able to look at the data differently than I typically would if I was like stacking my events.
Every good cookbook promises to make you a better cook. So I asked Sydney what she hopes this one does for threat hunters.
I hope that people take it as a challenge to learn something new. There's so many different techniques that we cover. There's bound to be one that maybe you haven't heard of or you're a little less familiar with. So digging into those new ones and just upping your threat hunting skills.
So whether you're a line cook just getting started or you're a seasoned chef who can dice an onion blindfolded, there is something in here to sharpen your skills. There is a link in the description of this video where you can download your free copy of the Threat Hunters Cookbook. Happy hunting and bon appetit. Take care.